Hello and welcome to Jamie's Motion Graphics. Today we are making kaleidoscopic backgrounds. If you want to know how to make them, just keep watching and I will explain step by step how you can make them yourself. Okay, so here we are in After Effects. I'm going to first show you the effect and then we're going to create it afterwards. So this is the effect. You can of course change the colors on this and do whatever you want. This is a very simple effect. Well, if you consider that it looks kind of awesome, I think at least. So let's change it to like this, and then you can see it becomes a little bit browner. It's basically just a luma matte of my composition, which I will show you in a moment. It's this one. But on top of that, there's a black solid, which has a vignette on it, which is a feathered out layer of, well, you can see it here. Hang on. Mask path, come on, don't be stupid. So the mask path, yeah, it's just a circle. Oh, I don't have mask on. There you go. It's just an ellipse and it's feathered out, so it's a subtract mask feathered out to just darken the edges and just make it a little more awesome. And then of course these two colors are, well, this is the actual background color, this is the one that's drawn over it, and it has some opacity. Of course, if you tune down the opacity it becomes a little bit more faded, and if you turn it up it becomes a little stronger, well, actually a lot stronger. And the colors, of course, you can change that freely. So this composition is then where the kaleidoscope effect, well, actually there's a kaleidoscope on this one as well, here. But I didn't really do anything with it, except for, well, change the thing a little bit. This is where the real magic happens, so you can actually just tune it to make whatever you want. And this one is loaded with Comp 1, which is where the real, well, basic stuff happens. If we turn off the adjustment layer, you can see that I have two of the same, well, flourishes. I made them actually in one of the previous tutorials. I'll show you what they look like. They look like this, and this is what they do over time. They, well, it's really short animation apparently. So they grow over time. As I said, I made this in a previous tutorial, so go watch that if you want to know how to make something like this. But yeah, what I did is I combined the two of them to fill up the entire screen. Then I put an adjustment layer on there, put CC Kaleido on that, and then moved them around until it made a nice, well, something. And as you can see, if you move the one, this happens. If you move the other one, well, other things just start to move. And of course you can move them in Y and in X to make the perfect setup for your next one. Of course you can use this for your kaleidoscope as well, or for your next step, I should say. So let's actually use this. Then you see here that it's kind of completely distorted. You can change it again to make whatever you want out of it. And let's say we want to make this, and yeah, and then we want to change it here to be a little bit smaller, for example. So you can use any of these things to create your new, well, whatever this is supposed to be. And of course, if you use the position on any of these layers, you can just change the kaleidoscope effect as well. Actually, it's this position here. You can use it, you can see how the kaleidoscope effect works with that. So it is really versatile. You can make step after step after step to get the perfect setup. But the main thing is this. So you kind of create something interesting here, and then you can move it around to the other layers. You can do several things with it, and we are just going to, well, not go into that at all. So I'm just going to show you that you can actually do that, and if you move around the position, as I said, then you can get more interesting stuff. And if you turn up the size, you get different stuff as well. So, but yeah, anyway, we're going to go into how to create this. So if you're not interested in that, stop watching. Anyway, new composition. We are going to use from our project file the half flourish that I had. And well, I already showed you, it's a very simple animation. and we're actually going to use one of them, I think, for now. Yeah, let's do that. I am going to put an adjustment layer on there, so instead of putting it straight onto the half flourish, I'm just going to do it on the adjustment layer, so we can turn it on and off when we want to. And what we're going to do is we're going to freeze frame the half flourish when, well, it has the right shape. So currently it does nothing, it does this. That's the only thing it does. It's either blank or it's this. And that's because the point where it references is in the middle. And in the middle there's nothing currently. So unless we move this, so P for position, so we can actually keep track of that a little bit. Oh, sorry, I double clicked. We can actually see here that different positions result in different things. And obviously we just want something. Doesn't really matter what we want for now. I'm not trying to make something super pretty. You can figure that out for yourself. And because this thing evolves, you can actually use the evolution to find more interesting things. So for example, if I oh, come on, I didn't have it selected anymore. If I want this, that is a different frame than if I want one of these, for example. And then if I move it around, then this is not as loaded as the other one, so there's not as much white on the canvas, which means that it just looks different. So yeah, thinner lines normally give you better well, creations. And of course, if you duplicate the half flourish and then move it around, so let's hit the position on that and see if we can make the difference. First of all, if I'm out of here, it looks like this. So, and then if I come back in, oh, let's set it to screen. That was kind of messy. So now I can add more stuff to it. So you can always add more stuff to it, of course. And I can make something like this. So this is half of the one and half of the other. So this half is the top one, and this one is the bottom one, and combined they result in this. So yeah, just great things. Now let's assume that this is the composition that we want. We want to change nothing about it. Then all we need to do is make a new composition. Well, you don't have to. You can keep working in this one if you want to. We're plopping the composition 4 into composition 5, and then all we need to do is put on a background layer. That's one. So yeah, it's actually Control Y. Let's take a different color. Let's take something a little dark green as the background. That is the actual background, and now we're going to make the color to draw with. So another solid, and it's going to be dark yellow. Maybe a little bit more towards the orange. And this is the color we are going to use to draw. We're going to add a track matte, Luma Matte Comp 4, which means that it now takes this composition to make whatever it's going to make. And currently we want to keep this frame because this is what we want. Obviously now it's evolving because we forgot to freeze frame our composition over here. But we can still do that. Just go to the position where you think like, okay, that's the one. Right click, time, freeze frame. And that's all you need to do. Now everywhere it's the same frame. So instead of the animation, it now is one frame. So we'll hit the T for transparency or opacity and just tune it down until you're like, okay, this is the one that I want. And then for some extra effect, you can do things like put a vignette over it, solid, black, or white, whatever you want. We can actually make it white. It looks completely different, but it's still the same effect. Double click your ellipse mask tool, make it into a subtractive mask, hit F for feather, and just feather it out until it's done. So as I said, it looks completely different. But you can, of course, just say, well, this is not what I was looking for. Hit the solid settings and just make it black, and then it will look the way you're supposed to. Well, look at it. And then with a vignette like this, you kind of draw the attention to the middle with your eyes. And that is often better because this will be a background and you want something to be over it. So if you're like, okay, this is still not good enough, you can of course add multiple layers of this effect. So let's say we have comp4 over here and we duplicate comp4, which would become comp6 then. We open that and we're going to just create a different effect for this one. Let's see. No, adjustment. No, actually not adjustment. We want to move around these guys. So let's make something completely different. Like a little more open or something like that. So many possibilities. Actually, let's do something like this. Then do the invert and put invert on the adjustment layer. Now it inverts the colors, and actually that didn't change too much. But yeah, well, I thought it would be more black now. Apparently it is not. I don't know why it keeps double clicking. My mouse really needs to be replaced apparently. But yeah, I want more black in there, which means I'll just have to figure it out. So let's take this. It doesn't really matter. Place composition 6 into this on top of everything else, and put a new layer in there that is the second color you're going to draw with. So solid, and let's say we want well, we have some greenish. Let's make something like this. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit super light, in fact. And just say, oh, the other way around. Just say track matte comp6 or luma matte, sorry, comp6. And then, well, you can see that it immediately pops up. And this is the one that we wanted. Freeze frame it. So right click, time, freeze frame. And then hit the T for transparency or opacity and just tune it down until you have the combination that you want. Of course, you can feel free to play around with the effect that is on here, so the kaleidoscope effect. So just change the size and make it something that is, well, just completely different. Like make it into Flipper, I don't know. I don't really know what people enjoy playing with. I personally hate this one, but hey, it's all about what you guys like. And of course, yeah, this looks pretty terrible as well. But yeah, sometimes you get really nice effects out of, yeah, these strange setups. I just like the flower and the starfish. Starfish is actually nice for this one, maybe. I don't know. Just simple pattern, maybe a little more complex. Maybe put the invert. Well, let's see what happens if we turn off the invert. It's actually better, I think. So now you can see that they don't really match up because they're different sizes. But because the one is a... No, they're not actually multiples. We can make the one a multiple of the other. And then they would still match up. So currently this one is 20, which means that this one should be, oh no, this one should be 30. And that way they should match up. Yeah, so you can see that now the middles line up and it becomes a little more of a design thing. So I'm definitely not saying this is a good color combination or this is even good design. But I'm just showing you that it is possible to make these kind of things. So let's see, turn the invert back on. This might actually be better. Yeah, just a little bit of highlighting now. And you can actually, well, switch them around. I don't know if that makes any difference, but we'll see that soon enough. So let's switch them around. Apparently oh, no, that's the background. Never mind. Putting these, that's not the right one. These on top might actually make a difference. Might also not. So depending on what you want to design, of course you can you can design different things. Let's reduce the opacity of that one so that the green one becomes, or the bluish green one becomes a little more apparent. Just try it out. I mean, that's what it's for. And yeah, I guess something like this would be good enough as a background. Of course, if you think that it's still too bright, you can just take another layer, like a solid, let's say black, and just hit the T and set it to, like, I don't know, 10%, 15%, okay, 25%, and it becomes more blackish, so it becomes less of a, well, obvious thing. And for example, if you had a logo over it, this is a very terrible font, I know that, used that in my previous tutorial, but yeah, if you put a logo on it, you can see there is a background, but it doesn't draw the attention. And if I turn off the black, you can see the difference. It is really just a slight difference, but it does draw the eye a little bit more. So this one, for example, we can feather it less. And then the middle becomes a little bit brighter, meaning that your eye gets drawn to that, and obviously the logo can have, I don't know, ramp on it. Let's put the ramp on the text layer, and you can see that immediately you get this nice little, well, shiny thing. I don't even know, something like that. And that's my logo. Yeah, so different experimentations with the things can really help you understand, like, how to build good colors, how to build well, just a nice setup. But yeah, you have so many things to work with, and well, as I showed you, this all comes from a very simple, well, picture, because that's all I'm using it for. It is this picture. Like, you can just find this on Google somewhere. Just they're called flourishes. So just type in flourish and you will see there are like thousands on there. And you're just using a tiny part of it. Just move it around, scale it up, scale it down, things like that. And as I said, the thinner lines do better. So thinner lines will mean that this is a little bit more, well, subtle. And you can definitely get things out of that. So nice things. Let's see what happens if I scale this down. So you can immediately see that it's kind of harder to get it on screen still, but well, it shouldn't be too hard. Let's scale it down even further. Yeah, there's the thin lines that I was looking for. So let's scale this one as well to, like, I don't know, 20%. And where are you? You're over here. You can see that the thin lines result in way more complex figures, which would take you hours to draw. But yeah, here it's just seconds, because, well, that's the way it works. So let's scale these as well. Scale them down to like this, and then try to find them. Oh, try to find them and actually put them on here. This is actually a terrible choice of the first one. Yeah, you'll have to, of course, do a little bit of work to actually get them to, well, be correct, be the way you want it. And I'm going to turn off the invert because it's too much white, and too much white means that it's just too bright in the end result. There you go. So completely different setup this time, and we can actually just turn this off if you're like, yeah, I don't like that, I like this one only, or I like the other one only. Hang on, which one? This one. So yeah, just insanely complex designs with 30 seconds of work. That's how good this effect is. And yeah, you can scale it up, you can scale it down Just keep in mind that your initial picture has to be high resolution for these lines to be sharp. Otherwise they become blurred, and that does not look good, even for your background. You can, of course, if you want to, put an adjustment layer in between these. New adjustment layer. There you go. Now we're going to put a blur on that. Blur. There are several blurs to choose from. I'm going to go with a fast blur. Yeah, Gaussian blur could be as well. Because I'm going to put that on here and just going to blur out the background a little bit, like 5 pixels. But it means that once again your eye gets drawn to the sharper logo, and that's exactly what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, all in all, just doing the same thing over and over, just trying to make the best, well, visual presentation. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. And that has to be above the blur as well. Just the best visual, well, surrounding for my logo, because that's what it's all about. It's all about your logo or whatever you're trying to present. So try to make the background present, but not dominant over your logo. And yeah, hope you learned something today, and I will see you next time.